This is a place.
This is the place?
This is a place. We want to talk about. This is a place.
Welcome back to another episode of This is a Place podcast. My name is Matt.
I'm Nate.
I'm Brandon.
And today is cheap flight day.
Hey, that sounds right up Nate's alley.
Well, not really, because I fly for free, so it doesn't matter.
Oh, okay.
Well, good for you, Nate.
We're
Well,
so happy for you, and y'all
Pin
get
a rose.
privilege.
Pin a rose on your nose.
I have a cheap flight story. My family and we all went to, when I say my family, my parents and my sister and my brother, we had tickets to go to a concert last week. My brother lives in Portland, and he wasn't so sure of his work schedule, so he decided to wait until it got closer to the concert to fly down to buy his ticket, make sure he could come. Anyway, he waited, I think it was like 2 weeks or a week before the concert, and checked flights from Portland to Salt Lake. Either of you want to guess how much a round trip was from Portland to Salt Lake?
Portland to Salt Lake? Was it going to Salt Lake or the Pro Airport?
To Salt Lake.
Okay. I'm guessing it was $432.
Close, Nate. Brandon.
$433.
It was $700.
Wow.
$700. Like, so my brother did not come to Utah. My mom she was very upset.
That he
Bummer.
didn't come.
Yeah, that he wasn't able to come because, I mean, they saw him in June, but that's a long time for my mom. I haven't seen my brother since Christmas, so we were really looking forward to him coming, and we were going to go to this concert as a family, which we do often. At least once a year, we go to concerts as a family, and we don't invite Brandon usually.
Usually,
Other friends we invite, but not
if
Brandon.
someone gets sick, you invite me.
Yep. You're my backup plan.
I have a cheap flight story.
Let's hear it.
This is maybe just a tip. Have I told you? I told you guys that I'm going to New Orleans, right?
Yes. You've told me.
So I'm going to New Orleans, and I got it on a cheap flight deal. I know there's a lot of flight subscription things you can follow, Instagram pages and things, but I follow this one that's Flights from Home, I think is what it's called. And so they'll send you an email if there's a really good flight deal. I got one today for Switzerland. There's been some for Ireland recently, but the New Orleans one popped up, and it only ended up being for 2 adults round trip. Any guesses?
$73.
$420.
Nope. Close, Nate.
Oh, for 2 adults. Sorry. You said 2 adults?
2 adults round trip. The out the door cost.
$317.29.
Close. It was $550. But still, not bad, right?
I
Round
don't
trip?
know.
Round trip.
Which airline?
Delta.
Okay.
Nonstop.
Did they give you a bag for free?
I did the super economy version, so I don't know.
Okay.
I think I do get it back for free.
Hopefully. That's the worst part right now. You can find all these cheap tickets, so to speak, and then you get there and they're like, well, if you're wearing pants, that's $20. If you're wearing shorts, it's $15. You know what I mean? They nickel and dime you.
Oh, and you
No.
don't have your own headphones? Well,
I don't want to listen to music. Well, it's mandatory because that's how we do our announcements.
it's kind of not the best thing to follow because it makes me super tempted to just buy lots of flights and travel all the time, but I know I can't do that. So at least that keeps me from doing it. But that's a good tip if you want to get some good flight deals. Flights from Home is where it's at.
Now, I know this is not right in New Orleans, but are you planning on visiting either Alistair Crump or Master Gracie's house while you were there?
That is the hope and prayer. That's the whole reason I booked the trip in the first place.
Okay. Actually, it's William Gracie, isn't it, William?
I have no idea. You've seen the movie twice. I've seen it once.
Well, speaking of cheap flights, today we're talking about a restaurant that's cheaper than taking a flight. An exotic restaurant right here in Salt Lake City that you don't need to fly to, but you feel like you're in another world.
Except you'd have to spend a lot of money to go back in time.
Yeah.
You'd have to buy a time machine
You have to buy a flux capacitor.
Yeah,
or
that's true.
or that one that Napoleon got with the crystals.
With the crystals.
Or a phone booth.
Just insert your favorite method of time travel. You'd have to buy that to go back to this place because it's not around anymore.
No, it is not. We are talking about the Hawaiian. There's a restaurant in, is it Sugar House
Highland,
or South Salt Lake around there? It's like
yeah,
29th South Highland Drive.
right.
So, and it closed in, I believe, the 80s. It was open from the 60s somewhere to the 80s. And apparently it was a big hit because when Brandon suggested we do this episode, I text my mother, who's old. I'm just kidding. She's not that old, but
Older than you.
yeah. And she was really excited. And my dad was excited when I told him. I even called my grandma and asked her what she remembered about it. So apparently this was an amazing place that I didn't know about until recently. And it's the type of place, I won't speak for you, Nate. I'm not sure, but it's the type of place that if it was still around, Brandon and I would visit it probably at least monthly.
Yeah. I don't think I'd go monthly, but
I don't
I
know
would
about
go.
monthly. Yeah.
I'd go often. It reminds me of the Mayan, kind of a themed restaurant. And I do love Hawaiian food.
So that's the interesting thing. It's called the Hawaiian, but the guy that started it, let me find his name.
Johnny Kwong.
Johnny Kwong. I hope we're pronouncing that name correctly. So he was born and raised in China for at least till he was a teenager and then moved to the US. So I thought, wait, so is this Chinese food or is this Hawaiian food? Was he like a Hawaiian born in China kind of thing? I was trying to look online. There aren't a ton of pictures. Of course, when it closes in the 80s, you can't find that much stuff on it. I did find part of a menu. Um, it says new takey outie. TAKEEOUTEE. New takey outie. And it's delicious Chinese dinners. So I wonder if they did Hawaiian food and they had these Chinese dinners you could take out. But from what I gathered from my parents, it was like buffet style. So maybe they did have Hawaiian food and Chinese food and variety. And that's another thing my grandma said she liked about it was that there was a variety of food there.
Well, like you, Matt, I texted my parents since they likely had gone to this place, and they both had gone, and they both remembered it. Both my parents, they weren't entirely sure, but they said they thought the food was not Hawaiian, but Chinese. And the article, I think I sent an article. In the article, it says it was Chinese food. He wanted to have a restaurant that was not your typical Chinese restaurant. So who knows what food they had there. I from everything I've read online and from what my parents said, it points to that it was Chinese food in kind of a tiki bar type setting. Does that make sense?
So it was called the Hawaiian, but they didn't have Hawaiian food.
I think that's right.
Interesting.
Well, can't Chinese food and Hawaiian food be very similar? Where rice is the base, you put chicken on it, and then it just depends on what kind of sauce you put on.
That's true. But there's definitely an Asian influence in Hawaii. That being said, you could kind of draw a line, right? A dotted line between the two.
All I have to say is just American food. Outside of America, food's all the same to me. It all looks and tastes the same.
Really?
No.
I say that's a terrible take, Matt.
Just looking at the pictures of the restaurant, it looks very dark. There's plenty of theming. You see tikis, tiki statues. Even the exterior, the outside, they have tiki masks that it looks like you could see from the road. Pretty big tiki masks.
They're perched on some poles.
Yeah. When I called my mom, the first thing she remembered was, and looking online, I saw this everywhere, is, oh, it used to storm.
Mm-hmm.
So they would every now and then, I don't know how long, maybe 30 minutes, 45 minutes, whatever, there would be a storm from what I read. So it'd rain, there'd be thunder, lightning, it would rain. And
Rumble.
then what was that?
There was rumbling and
Yeah.
almost the ground would move.
Yeah, that's one of the things I was like, that it made it seem like the floor moved or there's some kind of vibration maybe, but I also saw a tree fell, a tree would fall.
Yeah.
So that's something really cool, which I would thoroughly enjoy. But imagine how many kids were probably traumatized by that experience. I only think of that because my kids would be the ones that'd be traumatized by that kind of experience.
Nate, did you ever go here or ever hear about it?
Never heard about it until you guys brought it up.
Did you ask your mom about it?
No.
Okay, then. Had you heard of
Well,
the other two restaurants he had, which were the King Kwong or the Papa Kwong's Pier 54?
what?
There were two other restaurants. I think this is the one that sticks out the most for people. But there's also King Kwong was another restaurant, and Papa Kwong's Pier 54 was a third. In the King Kwong, another thing that sounds awesome, they had an animatronic gorilla.
Hmm.
And then in Papa Kwong's Pier 54, it was a ship deck and had moving waves. But for me, and it seems to be the consensus, everybody had a greater degree of affection for the Hawaiian. And probably in part because, the tiki craze. Everybody loved the tiki bars and the tiki aesthetic. And in Utah, we have a pretty large Polynesian footprint.
We do.
And so maybe in part because of that, there was more interest in this one.
I'm curious what the animatronic gorilla, what it was like, how
And it's
big it was, what actually
actually,
moved.
you can still see it today. It's in Lagoon.
I was gonna say that. Dracula's castle. You see King Kwong. Um,
I don't think that's the case, but that would be pretty cool if it was.
yeah. Well, that would be huge for a restaurant. Can you imagine eating in that thing looming over you?
It sounds like a dream come true.
And I should have looked, but Brandon or Nate, did either of you look to see if you could find pictures on King Kwong or or the Papa Kwong's Pier 54?
That's the problem is there's not as much about those ones. I don't think they were as successful.
From my understanding, reading the article though, the Hawaiian was the first one to close.
Really?
Um, oh, it just says Kwong worked at his other restaurants for a few more years before retiring. Yeah, so he closed the Hawaiian. So the issue with the Hawaiian was that he owned the building, but he didn't own the land that it was on. And so he started having health problems with diabetes. And so when it came up to renew his lease on the land, he decided to not renew that lease. So that's why the Hawaiian closed. But it says that he worked at his other restaurants for a few more years before retiring. And then him and his family moved to Nevada.
Well, that's makes sense and possibly good news that it didn't go under because of no interest in the place. Sounds like it was just bad land lease he had.
Mm-hmm.
So I think we can get this place back open again if we pull our funds together. Should we do a GoFundMe to get it back?
Yeah, 100% we should.
And it will be right next door to the mine too.
We're also gonna open the ship on the, was it Queen Jordan?
The Jordan Queen.
The Jordan Queen.
Jordan Queen.
Yeah, so you'll have three
Um,
options for prom dinner. Do you want to go to the Jordan Queen? Do you want to go to the Hawaiian, or do you want to go to,
The
what was
Mayan
that?
too.
The Mayan.
the Mayan.
Part
Mayan
two.
2.
Mayan too.
But here's the question. Could we not just combine the Mayan and the Hawaiian into one? Because it's pretty similar.
The Mahayan.
The Mayan. Mayan, you're ugly.
It
I feel like the Mayan was more forest themed. No, not forest themed, but
was like Mayan themed.
jungle. Yeah, jungle themed.
Well, they do film a lot of jungle movies in Hawaii.
True. Isn't that where they filmed the Jurassic Park filmed in Hawaii?
Yeah, I think some of those Jurassic Parks. I think Lost, maybe Lost was first movie, the show. There's a lot of stuff filmed there.
51st dates.
So if we
51st
don't have
Dates.
success with people coming to the restaurant, we can at least have people film movies there. So they don't have to go far away.
Out of state.
Yeah.
So I am aware of one tiki area currently, but it's not even a permanent spot. It's at Gateway Mall. Oh, it's not called Gateway Mall anymore. It's just at the Gateway. And it's a restaurant that's permanently there, and then they have this pop-up. It's Wednesday through Saturday night tiki area. But are there any other tiki restaurants that you guys know of that are currently open in Utah?
What makes it tiki?
If there's
It would be the
tikis,
art.
What's that?
tiki torches.
It would be the art and decoration. And usually with tiki themed restaurants, there's tiki drinks. So there would be specific kind of like alcohol drinks, and I can't think of any.
I sent you guys another picture that I found about the restaurant, and they had these exotic drinks in tiki type cups. I'm imagining. I imagine they came in things like this, and they had the headhunter, Tahiti, volcano, and all these different flavors you could get. And I thought it was interesting at the bottom it says all drinks are non-alcoholic. So I don't imagine this restaurant served alcohol, but they still tried to capture that tiki vibe, which is cool, but it does seem weird that it still wasn't Hawaiian food, but Chinese food and then tiki type drinks.
There's a tiki bar called Waikiki
Oh yeah.
downtown.
I've never heard of that.
They don't open till 5, so it's probably a nightlife type place.
And it's not a place for kids. I mean, it's a bar in the first place, but you looked at the stuff they serve there? Matt, if we don't make it to the tiki bar pop-up, we can always go to this one.
I think I'm going to pass on that one because, well, first of all, we just need to make the tiki bar pop up. I don't know if you saw, they have tiki themed bowling that
What?
night too. So
Gosh.
I know we really need to get there. Be a lot of fun. But whenever I see pictures of tiki restaurants, like I was looking at it yesterday, the one at Flanker, I think is what it's called, is the main restaurant. So when I see tiki bars like that or tiki restaurants, I think of Evers and Evers Real Estate and sales that were made at Evers and Evers with Evers and Evers Real Estate.
In talking to my parents, well, my mom, she said that it was really cool going to this restaurant as a kid, but as she got older, she felt like it was cheesy, I guess. It didn't have the same appeal to her as she grew up. They both my parents said it was really not for the food, for the atmosphere, which I think could be said for most themed restaurants. They deliver really hard on the ambiance and the theme, but not always the food. And I think we all can agree with the one we've been to.
The food was good there.
I thought it was good, but I mean you're mostly going for the atmosphere,
The
right?
experience,
Yeah.
not the food.
The
Yeah.
last time I went to Rainforest Cafe in 2013 at downtown Disney, it was the most disgusting and expensive food.
See,
So
there you
bad
go.
that that's what I think about. I don't think about the theming and how exciting it was. Where they also have rainstorms there. And the animals, all the animatronics go crazy when there's a storm. But it was so gross.
And I would say also was the case. I went to Casa Bonita before it was revamped, which I think maybe we'll make it there one of these days for an episode. But that one I went and the food was very, very underwhelming. And they've revamped the menu and I think I've heard it's a little bit better. Maybe it's still not the top tier food, but much better than what it was before.
I heard the food was okay at the new reopened.
Did in your research did you see that so it has a storm? My dad said that it wasn't just lights and sounds, but you could also see water actually dripping down the walls or like as if it was on the outside of the building. Did you read that at all?
I didn't see that. I'm curious. So at Disneyland, they have the tiki room where there's a storm and you look out the windows, the fake windows outside, where it also looks like it's raining, but it's an effect. It's not really raining. So I wonder if they did really have water running down or if it was an effect that
Hmm,
looked like rain.
good point.
Is this a place you would want to spend your life savings on to buy a time machine to go back to?
No, it is a place I would spend my life savings on rebuilding.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I think if you really wanted to go to a place like this, they have places like this around the country, just not here in Utah right now. But it would be cool to rebuild one.
See, the problem here is we only have Western themed restaurants. That's as far theming as we get, right? At least
That I can
to
think
this
of.
type of level. I mean, we like the West. We're not gonna scoff at our West heritage, but can we do more here? I think we can.
Yeah.
So maybe what we do is buy a Prairie Schooner and turn that into the Hawaiian.
Sounds good to me. We'll turn into Hawaiian, but yet we'll have the covered wagon still and serve all the regular food.
Yes, I don't see any issue with this at all. Are we the only people that care about themed restaurants? Is this a really niche desire that we have?
I don't think so. Well, so I think to answer your question, I think people enjoy it, but they don't think about it in their spare time like we do.
That's a
So I
fair
think
point.
people would enjoy it, but nobody right now is thinking about bringing it back.
But I feel like it would work more now than it would back in the 80s and 90s
Yeah.
because the amount of people who eat out of their house has almost flipped. I think it used to be 70-30, where 70% of the time people eat at home and then 30% they eat out. And now it's like reversed. Like the population eats out 70% of the time and 30% at home. So I think there's more people eating out at restaurants, and maybe it wouldn't be as big on a weekday, but I'm sure weekends would be hopping for a place like this, some sort of themed restaurant. You would have to think it would be, but
Well, let me ask you guys this. How often do you eat out? And this isn't takeout that you eat out and actually go to a restaurant.
and
Never.
that's true because I think that's the next wave of restaurant eating is people are going to do takeout more than they do sit at the restaurant.
I mean, that's where
So
I'm at.
a lot of the fast food places are starting to change their building structures to where it accommodates more the person coming to pick up their food rather than sitting down and eating.
Hmm.
But I do think people still enjoy going with friends or family to a restaurant to sit down and talk. That's what I'm saying. Maybe the weekdays people wouldn't go as much because you're busy, like you're talking about. You're going to do takeout, but I could see the weekends being pretty popular.
Yeah, for me, maybe it's because of kids. It's a lot of work to take kids and eat out. So it's much easier to have them in a controlled environment where we bring the food here. But I don't know, where are you at, Matt? How often do you guys eat in a restaurant?
I don't know the last time. Oh, the last time we ate in a restaurant was in February. That's because we were on vacation. So we
See?
didn't really have a choice. But we do not go out. I mean, I have an 8-year-old, a 6-year-old, and a 4-year-old. The 6-year-old and 4-year-old do not sit for that long. Actually, no, I take that back. We went in June to Leatherby's, which is a place we frequently go to. And while we were eating, Colton threw up all over the table. So it's a good reminder of why we don't go out to places.
Yeah, we don't. Me and my wife go to restaurants quite often and sit down and eat, but it's rare that we take the kids with us.
There's a themed jungle gym, playground, whatever you want to call it, at the aquarium that I think is close to Tiki. It's like a jungle theme, I guess. So just put that in the building with the Tiki theming, and you just let your kids run around and play while you eat.
I can see the argument for spending all the time and effort in building a themed restaurant like this that you'd want families to come to. Maybe it's not something a family would want to go to.
I feel like if the food is good, people will keep coming back. But if it's just for the experience, not for everybody, but for it seems the majority of people, they'd go at least once to post on social media about it that they went, but they're not going to return if the food isn't outstanding. So I think we talked ourselves into building this and we've talked ourselves out of building this.
I hate reality. I just want to dream. And the problem is, we just need to have enough money that if we built something like this and it fails, we wouldn't care, you know? Just be a nice tax write-off.
Got to win the Powerball.
So if we have at least $1 billion, we can justify it's a cool place. I wish we could go. It is now a VFW or something like that. I don't understand. Do you guys know what that means? It's like a veterans building of some sort. And I think there's a veterans bar from what I could see online when I Googled the address.
Yeah, I couldn't tell what it was.
It doesn't look anything like it once did.
No.
And I mean that's cool they've got a bar in there at least.
Well, for our older listeners out there, if you do remember the Hawaiian or visiting the Hawaiian, let us know. Maybe if you have any pictures you can share on social media or email us at thisisaplacepodcast@gmail.com. We'd love to hear. And if you have any pictures, especially, that'd be really cool to see. There aren't too many online. When you search for it, you just kind of see the same things over and over. So
Right.
let us know if you've been there, what memories you have there.
And let us know if it was just Chinese food. I guess
Yeah.
that's my biggest curiosity.
What
Oh,
kind
yeah.
of food do they serve
What
here?
food? And final thing, if you are a billionaire and you would like to invest, and
We
by
have
invest, I mean just give us the money and let us do this idea.
Have it. Have at it. Yeah.
I'm gonna tweet Elon Musk because he can say no, right? Or he could say yes.
Yeah. I'll cage fight Elon Musk. since he won't.
If we can beat you in a cage fight, will you give us $1 billion to build this crap?
I
Please and
think
thank
$1
you.
billion is overkill for this, but
No, including our theme park.
okay. And our haunted house and that theme park as
Yeah,
well.
the
So
$1 billion
we've got,
will not go to waste.
no.
It might,
You kidding?
Depends
but
on
that is
depends
the
on your
willing.
view.
That is the risk I am willing to take.
Some of you may lose money. But that's the risk I'm going to take.
Thanks for listening to This Is a Place podcast.
And this was a place we just talked about.
Bye now. Do you think the servers wore Hawaiian outfits? I didn't see anything about that. Do you think there were some coconut bras?
Or did they have like fire dancers and stuff like that?
Can you even have fire shows in a building like that?
In the 80s and 70s, you could do whatever you wanted.
That's true.